Developing this afternoon, a huge step forward in avoiding a partial federal shutdown. The Senate passed a bill to keep the money flowing through December 3rd, and then the House followed suit. But this is only a temporary solution.
Yes, North Central College political science professor Stephen Caliendo joins us now to talk more about this. Professor Caliendo, thank you for being here.
It's great to see you both. Thanks for having me.
Update us on what happened. Always good to see you, too. Looks like they've bought a little more time here.
Right. About a couple of months till the first week of December, I think. I mean, this is always a complicated process because the way the federal government gets funded is through separate appropriations bills, separate spending bills, and there can be disagreement on any of them. And there's disagreement on a number of them this time, as there often is. And so, the holdup on a couple different bills really got us to the verge of, within hours of what would have been a very difficult federal government shutdown. And so that was averted. It buys a couple more months to try to get some cooperation between Republicans and Democrats, and between Democrats and Democrats, some of whom are in disagreement about what should happen next.
There is no doubt. I think for a lot of us outside the Beltway, this is all very, very confusing. So let's talk next about the debt ceiling and where we are there.
Yeah, it's the same question, and this question has come up in previous years as well. I mean, the federal government's only allowed to spend X amount of dollars more than it has in at any given time, and run up a debt that will be paid back later. And some fiscal conservatives are very concerned that raising that will be problematic. But we're coming out of a number of crises. Certainly, we're still in the midst of a pandemic crisis, but we had economic crises prior to that, and an economic crisis that was related to the pandemic. And so the Democrats in particular, both in Congress and President Biden, are interested in jumpstarting the economy by spending, and they're starting to do that, but they're running up against a debt ceiling that will, if not raised, will spell some trouble for the way the economy is going to move, according to Janet Yellen.
Just real quick to clarify the debt ceiling, it's like paying your credit card bill for money they've already spent, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, it is borrowing against what is promised to be paid back, and okay. It's put in place there to try to keep the government from getting out of control with respect to its spending. But when you start to see the actual dollars that they're talking about, it all feels so ridiculous to us because our credit card usually don't have those kind of limits on them.
Let's hope not.
Even when we say the word trillion, I don't even know how to wrap my brain around that. Right. Professor Caliendo, we know you mentioned Republicans and Democrats need to get some consensus here, but also Democrats need to start agreeing with one another. What are some of the sticking points that you're going to be keeping an eye on in the coming weeks?
Right. There's been lots of talk about a couple senators in particular that are moderate Democrats whose votes are really important because of the very thin majority that the Democrats have in the Senate. But there's a lot of disagreements in the House, too. The Progressive Caucus really has some very firm ideas about how some of these appropriation bills ought to be handled and the kind of policies that should be included in them. And then more traditional Democrats are resistant to some of those, partly on principled, kind of substantive principled lines, but partly because they're worried about not being able to move things through the Senate as well. They're trying to be practical. And so I think some of that has to be worked out in caucus, and Nancy Pelosi has a responsibility in the House to work out between, feuding Democrats to get the bills that they think that can make it not only pass the House, but pass the Senate as well.
Yeah, they say they're working all the time to get it done. Professor Caliendo, thanks for helping us make sense of this.
It's great to see you this afternoon. Thank you.
You too.